This here is just, it feels like we're rolling into like an in your house, not a WrestleMania. These go-home shows were completely flat and terrible. They did not make you interested. For example, the Jey Uso Gunther thing, which we made a what went right segment with the Jimmy Uso getting bloodied and, you know, Jey being zip-tied. That was real heat going into that. As a matter of fact, I believe that should have been the go-home segment going into WrestleMania. They went too fast, too early with that. I feel like they were panicked because there was so much 50-50 booking with Gunther, with guys from NXT that he was going 50-50 with as world champion and expected to be a monster heel going into WrestleMania. So they righted that ship a week too early. This week, Jey and Gunther are in the same building, cutting in-ring promos, or Jey was outside as well on the announce table. They didn't cross paths to fight. It was so easy to keep them separated after what he did to Jey's brother. That's one thing. The Cody Cena thing is mystifying. The only build that I noticed for the Cena stuff going into WrestleMania was Triple H exposing the fact it wasn't real in an interview, saying, yeah, we talked to John about finally pulling the lever on them. Like, what are you doing? You know, there's the thumbnail.
Thank you.
But what are you doing? What are you doing with that? Like, you literally just did the AEW media scrum before. You might as well give the finish to the matches while you're at it. Did you feel that way? Why? I only watched like 30 seconds. I'm like, what is this guy? He's suspending all the disbelief. You know, I could go on and on. The Rock thing, this is the thing. People are complaining about The Rock. This is the one thing. It's not right in theory, but Rock is a very smart worker. He's not going to go international, these Raws and Smackdowns. He's not going to go week in and week out. Rock is going to appear when it features The Rock in the biggest impact, in the biggest segment, at the biggest moment, to overtake even the guys that are in the ring. That's being a great worker. Now, I would believe after the Rumble, and now it's after Elimination Chamber, apparently, all hands on deck. But right now, it's literally like, I feel like the promotion and the build for WrestleMania, and last year, going back to that, they got lucky. They had this weaved around thing that turned out, it looked like a cluster in the beginning. Then it turned out to be an exciting cluster, as you would say, right? It was pretty exciting because there was so much unpredictability. This here is just, it feels like we're rolling into like an in your house, not a WrestleMania. What are your thoughts?
It does exactly it. It's lame duck. Everything seems to have peaked too early. There's something that really bugs me, Stevie. I mentioned it to Dutch yesterday when we were recording, and he said, you're overthinking it. But on this show, this is what we do. We overthink everything. So, as you say, the John Cena, Cody Rhodes thing, it never really got me. I mean, at least on the last confrontation, it was a lot better. But then it peaked too early, and now there's just been 3 weeks of just Cody talking to belts or whatever, just nothing that entertaining. The Jey Uso thing peaked 2 weeks early, as you said, because the Gunther beat down with the zip ties. And then the week afterwards, they had a face-to-face promo, which was very intense, very good. And then this Monday just gone, Gunther comes out individually, says his piece, and then Jey Uso just yeets a lot, says barely anything, then goes away again. It's like, everything's in reverse. But here's the thing that I mentioned to Dutch, and he went, you're overthinking it. Tiffany and Charlotte Flair. A couple of weeks ago, they had that obviously disastrous off-the-rails segment where it somehow worked in their favour because no one cared about that match at all until then, and now we were all thinking afterwards, man, these two really do hate each other. Are they going to cooperate at WrestleMania? That was basically what it was. And then on SmackDown on Friday, they did a beatdown in the car park of the arena where they were, and all the fans, they made sure, that the fans could record it on their phones and then post it to social media and do one of those things. And then all that told me was, well, clearly they're cooperating enough to work physically together, so therefore the intrigue is now not there for the WrestleMania match. Is that me overthinking things?
No, I don't think so. And that's the kind of the mission statement of our show, is really overthink and overanalyze it. But isn't that the job of creative in WWE and any wrestling promotion, to overthink the choose your own adventure about where this could go, where it shouldn't go. I'll tell you what would be more realistic. Two things with the Charlotte Tiffany thing. Number one, to literally come out and say they clearly don't like each other to the point where we could have liability issues. Let's keep them apart till WrestleMania. Now that you can't do nothing, you know what I mean? Do no harm to this angle. Now that you got something that Murder Hour James Romero loves, the train wreck of everything. So he was really interested. And who cares if they cooperate in the match? You've already bought the ticket. You already bought the pay-per-view. You're already watching it. And then you got another day and a half or 3/4 to watch anyway. You know what I mean? You're not going to be that disappointed that these girls are not shooting on each other. Also, the pro wrestling beatdown inside the arena with the posts and all this stuff, you just became pro wrestling. You took the real personal stuff out of it. And really, maybe that promo should have been last and had people excited. You don't want to leave, and that would have been 1 to 2 days after that promo because they were on SmackDown, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't have time to think. You would just have time to anticipate, what's going to happen, and it happens. There's so much stuff in this WrestleMania today that you should have twice as much build, twice as much interest, twice as much care for the creative. Because number one, you're trying to actually sell pay-per-view buys, tickets, merch, all that stuff. Number two, what happens this weekend should lead business at least till SummerSlam. I don't feel like we're there. Going over is a good way to put it metaphorically. I watched the go-home thing with Rollins, Punk, and Roman Reigns. And what do I think? There's two outcomes. The number one outcome is I believe Seth Rollins is definitely not going over because he hit both guys with his finish. The only way Seth Rollins is going over in any way, shape, or form is the fact it's been Roman and Punk fighting over Paul. Rollins is standing back, so I'm already saying Rollins is the red herring. He's turning, and Paul's turning more importantly on these two and going with Rollins. The only thing is that people can criticize Rollins. Rollins can talk. Why isn't Paul paired with a guy that can't talk? Punk can talk, Roman can talk, Seth can talk. His material is whatever, that's beside the point, but he can cut a promo. So why is Paul attaching themselves that guys that technically don't even need them, need his mentor, his voice, any of that stuff? So that's the way I look at it, but it's going to be either Rollins is politicking if they're not doing it for Paul to turn. And I think that's the best thing to do. But those two stomps on both, the old school wrestler me goes, he hit his finish. That means he's not going over. You're holding the belt like Jacob Fatu. You're not winning it. These are the little tells in pro wrestling that maybe they'll swerve me, but it's more so happened exactly in the order than not.
With WrestleMania, I've seen ones with some really bad builds end up being really great shows, and then the opposite is true. Some really great builds have been really bad shows. So actually, I'm holding out hope that actually it's going to be very good entertainment. A couple more things I want to mention. One, Damien, Drew McIntyre.
Can I ask you a question first? I'm
sorry.
Of course. We're years into the 2-day model for WrestleMania. Obviously, monetarily, financially, even though they may not sell out both nights, the combined attendance, the combined gate, it looks better for the stockholders and for any potential future buyers or anything. But do you think the 2 days really do take away the special nature of WrestleMania, that this is a one-night extravaganza?
It would if there was too much on every show and they were overloaded. I think that's the only reason that the pay-per-views still work as 2 nights is because there's actually not that many matches on each. Do you think that's a valid point?
Yeah, and also the previous model, I remember WrestleMania, I think it was MetLife Stadium and maybe other ones, that the pre-show into WrestleMania, like literally was like you're investing 9 hours that day, maybe more. Like the pay-per-views were exceedingly long on the network, right? Weren't they well past 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes?
Yeah. But I mean, combined, this has got to be at least 4.5 hours per night, plus a kickoff show of an hour, plus a pre of 2 hours probably. So it's going to be like 13 hours I think, over the weekend, which obviously I'm going to all watch on Monday and get through in about 2.5.
I just almost yawned just thinking about
I
that
know.
schedule.
I saw you stifling a yawn. Then I'll move on. So yeah, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre. I think that's one of the only matches where it's actually heated up at the right time, as well. Because I think they were doing stuff on SmackDown to actually, get a bit of interest in their match. But once more, and this isn't anybody's fault, Kevin Owens has been pulled from the Randy Orton match, and this is actually one of the only bits of intrigue that I'm really interested in. Do you think it's going to be Nick Aldis? Do you think it's going to be Jeff Cobb? Who else could it be to face Randy Orton at WrestleMania in the mystery match?
I wish it would be Nick Aldis, and I wish they actually gave that away because it would lead to intrigue and there's no pressure of the surprise opponent with fans not reacting to Nick Aldis. You got to think about, he's NWA World Champion, he was TNA Champion, but those are like lifetimes ago compared to now. Casual fans only know him as a GM. They might have mentioned he was a wrestler, but they needed to this is one of those things they shouldn't have hot-shotted. Or, we talked about on the Russo show, what should have happened was, remember Randy said, I already paid for the fine for the second RKO or whatever? Mm-hmm. Our idea was that Randy goes into his bag and there's just either a check or a bunch of cash. And Nick is like, hey, I gave you your money back because guess what? You can save that because I'm your opponent at WrestleMania on Saturday or Sunday. And then they have to have a package with Nick showing that he's still training. He's legitimate. This is not going to be something that's just like a GM and they're like a Bischoff or a Vince or anything like that. I mean, the surprise that Nick can wrestle, I don't think it's going to be like somebody just doing an arm drag who never did an arm drag, like a radio DJ on an indie show. You look at the guy and you go, yeah, he used to be a wrestler. He's still a wrestler. He's in shape. There's no surprise. So I would have went all the way for Nick and Randy training, or Nick training, but Randy not taking it super serious, where Nick almost gets like a flash win a couple times over Randy. I think they're going to have a great match if it is Nick. But you said Jeff Cobb. Is that where the rumors are? Jeff Cobb in WWE?
Yeah, there's Jeff has already left New Japan, even though he was the tag team champion. He just ditched it. It's sort of like the Stephanie Vakir thing, I guess. WWE just called and said you need to come at this point. So it could be Jeff Cobb. I mean, he's in his early 40s now, I figure, or I think the suggestion is that, a talented guy, big guy, lots of experience, never been in WWE, in his 40s, needs to make his money now. But the problem is like, what footage do you use to sort of promote him beforehand? You can't just say Jeff Cobb, because the vast majority of American wrestling fans or non-Japanese wrestling fans will actually really know who this guy is. But that's one of the rumors anyway.
Well, I mean, the only way you can cover it in a quick Cliff Note sense is if there's that thing like when Cody came out as the surprise with Seth Rollins back at the previous
everybody knew.
No. Yeah. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the presentation of the entrance.
Yeah.
Differently for Jeff, not the thing with the voiceover and they're going to recognize the voice or the music from AEW. What I feel like is maybe you literally air, lights go off, Titantron pops, lights up, pops, and then it shows highlights of Jeff's best stuff from like all the New Japan stuff and doing his moves and just being a killer, and then going to him with his face into the camera. Music hits, pyro hits, here comes Jeff. At least you have an idea that this guy, oh my God, this guy's like something else. And then commentary has to cover it. Live, you may not, but West Coast, I mean, I think Jeff's from the West Coast, so you could, is he from Vegas? I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe you will get a local pop for this from people that are actually attending, but it's all over the world. So you can be 50-50 on this. By the way, maybe you will get a great reaction because people are flying in from all over the world that may know who Jeff Cobb is. There's always that chance of that happening. And Jeff's a good guy and he's a great talent. So for him to be for the WWE to turn around possibly and say, this guy's got a lot of experience. He's a big dude. He looks great. He can work and he's in his 40s. Let's sign him so he can make the money now. WWE, that would be, hats off to you to take a guy and say, we can get a good 3 to 5 years out of him. He makes a ton of money. Everybody wins in the end. And maybe we get an office guy after that. Maybe he's got a good mind that can help.